writing this answer. Now in case this question comes, try to economize on words and try to give 5-6 maps if you want to secure 14 out of 20. 14 is a rare mark secured by students. But if you write less and give 5-6 marks and your sequence of rocks is correct, of course you will get minimum 13, maybe up to 14. Thinking as compared to others, he is the most methodical student who narrated the history of rocks of the Peninsular India in a chronological order. ये इसका आंसर है. ज़्यादा और चाहें तो पढ़ लीजिए, ज़्यादा पढ़ेंगे तो कंफ्यूज होंगे तो नंबर कमाएंगे तो फिर बाद में दुख होगा. इसका ध्यान रख के इस सवाल को कीजिए. When I was saying if you give 20-24 maps in the second paper, nobody can stop you in securing less than 140. It may be 150 plus, it may be 160. नंबर सेकंड पेपर में क्यों नहीं आते? क्योंकि यह एस्पेक्ट आपका वीक है. कोई बताता नहीं, आप करने को तो तैयार हैं, पहले कोई बताए तो कि करना क्या है. प्रॉब्लम वहाँ है. बच्चे बड़े मेहनती हैं, चाहते हैं कि कोई हमको सिखाए, लेकिन सिखाए पहले उसको आता तो हो. ये प्रॉब्लम बहुत चल रही है. जो 4 बार फेल हुआ उसको खुद पता नहीं मैं फेल क्यों होता रहा. हमने एक कैंडिडेट को बताया तो 364 नंबर आ गए कि भाई आपको ज्योग्राफी बहुत आती है, नहीं आता तो लिखना और आंसर देना नहीं आता है. ये सेकंड पेपर का आर्ट है. ईच क्वेश्चन शुड बी डॉक्यूमेंटेड विद लेबल डायग्राम्स. 3-4 सेंटेंस एक डायग्राम, 3-4 सेंटेंस एक डायग्राम. आई फील आई हैव कवर्ड वन टॉपिक that the peninsular India has some of the oldest rocks and some of the youngest rocks. अब आप पढ़ेंगे इसको किसी भी किताब से तो शायद आपको ये आसान लगेगा. ये एक टॉपिक था जो मैं चाहा कि आपको पहले बता दूं. हो सकता है कि ये 20 नंबर का सवाल इस साल आ जाए. कोई बात पूछनी है इसके बारे में तो यार फ्री, नहीं पूछना है तो फिर मैं दूसरी तरफ चलता हूँ. यस प्लीज. यस, एक्चुअली ये पीरियड कोई भी ऐसा पीरियड नहीं है जो 20-30 लाख बरस से कम का पीरियड हो. तो नीचे जब खोलेंगे तो आपको, जब कोयले के नीचे जाएंगे तो आपको मोरेन्स मिलेंगे. इतनी डिटेल्स में मैं आपको ले जाना नहीं चाह रहा हूँ. वहां आपको आयरन भी मिलेगा कोल के साथ साथ, बिकॉज द पीरियड इज अबाउट 20 लाख ईयर्स. खुद जब आप कहते हैं कि दक्कन लावा प्लेटू, there had been 19 episodes of lava eruptions. 19 बार इरप्शन हुआ है, उसका स्ट्रेटिफिकेशन है. हालांकि आपने पढ़ा होगा कि इन द इग्नियस रॉक्स वी डोंट हैव द लेयर्स. लेयर्स आर द कैरेक्टरिस्टिक ऑफ द सेडिमेंट्री रॉक्स. लेकिन जब ड्रिलिंग करके बोरिंग करते हैं तो 19 लेयर्स आती हैं दक्कन लावा प्लेटू की. एंड देयर आर फॉर्मेशन ऑफ वेजिटेशंस आल्सो. जहां वेजिटेशन के फॉसिल्स मिलते हैं, इसका मतलब इरप्शन रुक गया होगा, वेदर्ड होके मिट्टी बनी होगी, उस पर घास उगी होगी और वो फिर इरप्शन हुआ, जम गई. सो द दक्कन लावा प्लेटू हैज 19 लेयर्स. इन बिटवीन देयर आर फॉसिल्स ऑफ इंसेक्ट्स एंड फॉसिल्स ऑफ ग्रासेस दैट रिवील्स. तो वो जो आपने कहा है, आई एग्री विद यू, देयर हैड बीन ए आइस एज आल्सो. Because under the coal deposits we have the moraines. Moraine deposits means the glacial action. There would have been. लेकिन इतनी डिटेल में जाएंगे तो इसी में रह जाएंगे. आप चाहें तो कहीं इंसर्ट कर दीजिए. बिकॉज 20 लाख बरस का जो पीरियड है उसमें वार्म एंड कोल्ड क्लाइमेट होती रही होगी, फ्लक्चुएशंस होते रहे होंगे. ये आपका पॉइंट सही है. लेकिन जब 20 नंबर में आपको गागर में सागर समोना है तो सारी बातें नहीं दी जा सकती. ये उसकी मैं बताइए. The second question I can discuss with you is on the origin of the northern plains of India. एक्चुअली जो ओरिजिन है वो 4 क्वेश्चंस बनते हैं आपके. ओरिजिन ऑफ रॉक्स ऑफ द दक्कन प्लेटू, origin of the Himalayan mountains, origin of the northern plains of India and origin of the coastal plains. ये 4 में से एक आना ही है और चारों तैयार करें तब हम कहेंगे स्टडी तैयारी हमारी ठीक है. ये सवाल बच के नहीं जाना चाहिए. Now looking at the time, let me give you some points which should be reproduced in the examination in case a question is coming on the origin of the northern plains of India. Note down a few points. The northern plains of India is one of the most homogeneous and leveled plains of the world. Stop. Its origin remained a point of debate. Its origin remained a point of debate amongst the geologists and geomorphologists. Some of the important views about the origin of the northern plains of India have been described briefly in the following. The first concept is known as alluviation of a foredeep. This concept was given by Professor Edward Suess. Suess was a geologist from Austria and he published a book Unstable Earth. This is the title of his book. If you write the name of the book and the author, then examiner feel very happy. Oh, he has read the Unstable Earth. चूंकि ये जितने एग्जामिनर हैं सब ने पढ़ी है. हम लोगों के टाइम पे that used to be a very important book. छोटी सी किताब है जैसे पेंगुइन बुक आती है उस साइज की है, लेकिन उसमें ओरिजिन ऑफ द नॉर्दर्न प्लेन्स ऑफ इंडिया भी लिखा है एंड ही हैज रिटन द ओरिजिन ऑफ द हिमालयाज आल्सो. सो इफ यू राइट दैट नेम ऑफ द बुक द एग्जामिनर विल बी हैप्पी कि मैंने ही नहीं पढ़ी, इसने भी पढ़ी है. इसने सेविंदर सिंह के अलावा भी पढ़ रखा है या जो और ऑथर्स हैं फुल्लर हैं, माजिद हुसैन है, इनके अलावा भी पढ़ रखा है. सो गिव टेक द एडवांटेज ऑफ दिस नेम. दिस कंसेप्ट वाज गिवन बाय. नेक्स्ट लाइन. According to Suess, a foredeep was created in front of the Shivaliks after the upheaval of the Himalayas. Stop. Initially, the northern plains region was like a geosyncline. Stop. the Himalayan rivers and the rivers descending from the Vindhyans brought sediments and deposited the same in the foredeep. Store. Over the period of time, it became a leveled plain. This concept is accepted by most of the geologists. By most of the geologists and geomorphologists. Stop. Next slide. Professor G.S. Barrard Professor G.S. Barrard, however, criticized this concept. Remember G.S. Barrard was the director of the Geological Survey of India during the period of First World War. I mean, the early part of the 20th century, this English fellow was the director of the Geological Survey of India. He criticized this, and the criticism was that if you see the bottom of the northern plains of India, there are some faults, there are some fractures. How these fractures developed? Often you see there had been earthquake in the northern plains of India. When there is some movement in these fractures, that lead to the occurrence of earthquake. And some of the important fractures are, one is Delhi-Hardwar fracture, Muradabad fracture, and here is the Munger fracture. So Barrard objected, why there are some fractures in the bottom of this geosyncline? This is one objection which goes. Secondly, he said, why the plain is more deep towards the Shivaliks. If you see the depth of the northern plains of India, the depth is more towards the Shivaliks. Towards the Vindhyan mountains, it is shallow. And which part has the deepest point of the northern plains of India? Any student? सबसे गहरा हिस्सा northern plains का कहाँ है? I am saying it is closer to the Shivaliks. But Shivalik are from Punjab up to the eastern part. कहाँ है? Pardon? Ambala. Yes, it is Yamunanagar, Ambala. This area has the deepest point. About 11 kilometers is the depth of sediments in that area. That is GS. You need not do. Anyhow, the second objection was this: why the northern side is more deep? But despite all these criticism, most of the experts agree with this, that it is a foredeep developed in front of the Himalayas after the upheaval of the Shivaliks. The second concept is Rift Valley. This is the second concept about the origin of the northern plains of India, and this was given by G.S. Barrard. According to Barrard, this is a fracture which went down like a rift valley. In the north, the Himalayas; in the south, the Vindhyan mountains. It was sinking of the rocks downward, and sinking of the rocks created a rift valley. So from west to east, you can say from Indus plain up to the Brahmaputra plain, it is a rift valley. Initially, some scholar agreed this idea looks good, but finally it was criticized. Barrard was not accepted by D.N. Wadia and by Professor G.S. Krishnan. The main objection was that in the world there is no rift valley of this dimension. If you see the length and width of this, I mean northern plains of India, they are about 2000 kilometer and into 500 kilometer in width at some places. This is the dimension of the rift valley. Professor D.N. Wadia, Professor Krishnan, his student, they said, in the world we are not having any rift valley of this dimension. How such a big rift valley been created? Where fracture occurred and the sinking of rocks went down. Some scholars said that we have very big rift valley in the eastern part of Africa. Right from the Lake Tanganyika, from this point, there is a rift valley going there through Red Sea up to the Dead Sea. This is a very big rift valley. But others said it is not a contiguous rift valley. In between there are many plateaus, there are many mountains. It is not single piece rift valley. So when we are not having any other rift valley in any other part of the world, how such a big rift valley been created in the northern plains of India? So this was rejected. Barrard concept is not accepted by Wadia and by his student Krishnan. So the third one is the third concept is that the northern plain of India developed because of the recession of the Arabian Sea. Where you are having the northern plains of India, there was an arm of the Arabian Sea here. The sea was up to this whole area, Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, etc., go towards east, UP, Bihar, Bengal, and up to the Brahmaputra. It was a bhuja or arm of the Arabian Sea. Now the rivers brought sediment from the Himalayas, and the rivers brought sediment from the Vindhyan mountains also. It started becoming shallow. When more sediment came in this area, the sea started recession, going back. So Bluntford, who was actually the director of the meteorological department of India, Pune, he gave this idea, though he was not a geomorphologist. But he advanced a concept. Perhaps in the past this was an arm of the Arabian Sea. And in the Arabian Seas are more sediment brought down by the rivers descending from the Himalayas and Vindhyan. They did the sedimentation and the sea receded. In support of his argument, Blandford said that there are many salt lakes, like the Sambhar Lake in Rajasthan, Dudwana. There are many more salt lakes. So the salt lake, according to Blandford, proved that these were the parts of the sea. So it has some credibility. But again, Blandford was criticized by Wadia and Krishnan both, saying in the desert we are having salt lakes like Sambhar, Dudwana Lake, there are other lakes also. But what about the lakes which are found in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and West Bengal? Why they are not salty? If they were the part of the sea, the salt should be in the lakes which are in Uttar Pradesh, which are in Bihar or in Bengal or in Punjab. They are not having salt. So this was not accepted. They accepted, of course, where you are having the desert, Thar desert now, it was under water of the Arabian Sea. But saying that the arm was extending up to the Brahmaputra, it is too much. Because all the lakes which are in the northern part of our country, in the middle part of the Gangetic plain, in the eastern part of the Brahmaputra river, they are not containing salt, their water is sweet. This is also remembered. And lastly, some of the geomorphologists like Professor Verma, they say that northern plain of India is a remnant of Tethys Sea. There was a sea here known as Tethys Sea, and when Tethys Sea took the shape of Himalayas, there remained some isolated patches of water, and over the period of time it became a leveled area because of the depositional work of the rivers. These are the four important concepts. In about 20 minutes, it was 15 marks question. 15 मिनट में इतना आप लिखें तो बहुत है. और सवाल जरा पढ़िए प्लीज. The question was, critically examine the main concepts about the origin of the northern plains. So these four concepts are to be given. अगर कोई डाउट है तो यू कैन आस्क मी. और बेहतर यह है कि यू रीड द बुक ज्योग्राफी ऑफ इंडिया, उसमें दिया हुआ है. यस प्लीज. यस, एक से काम नहीं चलेगा. बिकॉज द एक्सपर्ट्स आर नॉट एग्रीइंग अबाउट द ओरिजिन. हमारा सब्जेक्ट ऐसा है, इसमें कोई एग्री करता ही नहीं किसी से. When there are four concepts, at least give three. Justify कुछ नहीं करना होता है. Out of these, the first concept is most popular, and most of the geologists and geomorphologists agree with Suez that it was a 4D. ये कर दीजिए. हाँ, चूंकि हमारे यहाँ कंक्लूजन नहीं होता. आपको ये किसी ने सिखा दिया कि आप कंक्लूड भी कीजिए. आप प्लेट टेक्टोनिक्स में क्या कंक्लूड करेंगे भाई? किसी भी थ्योरी में क्या करेंगे? आप ये कह सकते हैं कि दिस थ्योरी इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इन अर्थ साइंसेस और इन जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी, और यू कैन से इट हैज द स्टेटस इन it has the status in earth sciences as the Charles Darwin's theory in biological sciences, which solved all the problems. This also solved all the problems. It solved the drift, it solved the origin of mountains, it solved the origin of these coral formations, it also explained the distribution of earthquakes and volcanoes. इस तरह से आप खत्म कर दीजिए. आप हर चीज में ये कंक्लूजन ना दीजिए और इंट्रोडक्शन ना दीजिए. टाइम कम है, डायरेक्ट हिट कीजिए. आप आपको आंसर किसी की बायोग्राफी नहीं लिखनी है, उसको पता है कि वैगनर कौन था. ये सारी चीजें लिखने की जरूरत नहीं होती. ट्राई टू इकोनोमाइज ऑन टाइप, डायरेक्ट लिखिए. जैसे इसमें दिया कि एक्चुअली देयर इज नॉट ए यूनानिमिटी अमंग द जियोलॉजिस्ट अबाउट द ओरिजिन ऑफ द नॉर्दर्न प्लेन्स ऑफ इंडिया. सब अलग अलग हैं, एंड सम ऑफ द इंपॉर्टेंट व्यूज आर गिवन बिलो. ऐसे कर दीजिए. ओरिजिन ऑफ प्लेट
वर्ल्ड मैप मतलब द करंट प्रेजेंट डे वर्ल्ड मैप. हाइपोथेटिकल क्वेश्चन, हाउ द करंट वर्ल्ड मैप डेवलप्ड है.
एक्चुअली आपको तो वैगनर से भी पहले जाना पड़ेगा। हाँ, वो तो देना ही पड़ेगा। वैगनर अबाउट 30 करोड़ years back was the first man who visualized perhaps the continents were in a compact form known as Pangea। वहां से आपने लंबे चौड़े इंट्रोडक्शन का टाइम कहाँ है? जब 60 नंबर का क्वेश्चन आता था तो हम इस पोजीशन में थे कि कुछ उसमें ब्यूटी लिटरेचर की डाल सकते थे, इंट्रोडक्शन भी दे सकते थे। ये कौन था? एक बात याद रखिए कि जितने बड़े साइंटिस्ट हुए हैं आप उन्हें फॉलो ना कीजिए, वो सभी बैचलर हुए हैं। जब उनकी बायोग्राफी आप पढ़ते हैं, वैगनर की शादी नहीं हुई, मर गया, पागल कहलाया। जितने भी ये जोग्राफर्स हुए हैं ये विदाउट मैरिज हुए हैं। इनकी फैमिली लाइफ बहुत डिस्टर्ब है। या तो ये कहिए कि जो डिस्टर्ब होता है वो अच्छी रिसर्च करता है, लेकिन ये कोई लॉ नहीं बनाया जा सकता। एनीहाउ, इसको सिंपल करके लिखिए। आपके पास टाइम की प्रॉब्लम है। मैंने देखा किसी ने एक लिख के छोड़ दिया कि बाकी तो एग्जामिनर को आता ही होगा। वो नहीं, अगर हमको 3 आते हैं 4 में से तो 3 तो लिखिए, और एक एक सेंटेंस क्रिटिसिज्म का जरूर दीजिए उनके साथ। मेरे पास तो मैप्स हैं, मैं अपने जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं उनको पढ़ाऊंगा ये टॉपिक। हमने अभी ज्योग्राफी ऑफ इंडिया शुरू नहीं की है, उनको तो मैं पता नहीं क्या क्या बताऊंगा कि सवाल कहीं भी ट्विस्ट करके आए, देयर शुड बी इन ए पोजीशन टू आंसर दैट क्वेश्चन। लेकिन आपके चूंकि ये सवाल था, मैंने आपको बता दिया। नाउ शुड वी गो फॉर ए ब्रेक फॉर अबाउट 15 मिनट्स? क्योंकि आप में से कुछ को तो धूम्रपान की आदत होगी। लेट अस असेंबल अगेन आफ्टर 15 मिनट्स। जो मुझसे हो सकता है कुछ वो मैं कराऊंगा, लेकिन आप कोई एक बेस बुक बनाइए और उसमें से एक एक पेज का नोट बनाइए, सिर्फ एक पेज का। एक पेज का नोट के पॉइंट्स ही आप लिख सकते हैं। क्योंकि आपके पास 15 नंबर का सवाल है, या 10 का है, या 20 का है, ये है। अगर एक पेज का नोट है उसी को पढ़िए, उसी को लिखिए। सी यू आफ्टर 15 मिनट्स। और शर्मा इसमें ठीक किया कुछ, मैप में और ज्यादा आ सकते हैं। नहीं, मैप में 15-16 आने चाहिए, 10-15 तो वैसे ही बढ़ जाएंगे। लेकिन आप लोग मैप का क्वेश्चन तैयार नहीं करते। मैं आज खास तौर से आप लोगों को इसी पे किया है कि मैप का सवाल अच्छा जाना चाहिए अगर ज़्यादा नंबर लेने हैं। उसमें दूसरे बीट कर लेंगे आपको। और हम 19-20 होते हैं, मैप वाला एक लड़के 21 नंबर है और 25, और किसी का 1, 2, 3 आ रहे हैं। तो ये 18 नंबर का जो गैप है ये मेकअप नहीं है। There was one question on western disturbances. Should I discuss this topic with you, or you are clear about the topic? Western disturbances. What is to be written in western disturbances? Note down a few points on the western disturbances also. Never write that western disturbances are temperate cyclones. They are not temperate cyclones. This sentence is to be avoided. What should be written? Please note down the points. Western disturbances are a unique phenomenon which occur in the winter season, Sheet Ritu, in the subcontinent of India. Stop. They are closely associated. They are closely associated with the migratory pattern of jet streams. Actually, in these latitudes, in the upper part of the atmosphere, below the tropopause, there are very strong winds. You know separately what is a jet stream. They blow from west to east. And when they blow from west to east, they are very thick. And the speed and velocity is also very high. And they move in a meandering position like this. A thick air moving at a great speed from west to east, known as jet stream. This jet stream brings some moisture evaporated from the Mediterranean Sea. So the origin is not because of the warm front and the cold front. The evaporation which is taking place in the Mediterranean Sea, even in the Atlantic Ocean, under this jet stream that moves towards east. This is the origin. It is not because of convergence of warm front and cold front. Therefore, please avoid the word they are temperate cyclones. They are not. Next sentence. The jet streams in the subtropical upper part of the troposphere blow in a meandering position. Meandering. Actually, they blow from west to east and they move with meanders. In the meanders, there are low pressure area and high pressure area. When the meanders become very sharp meanders like the oxbow lakes on the ground, adjacent to a river channel, they take the shape of low pressure and high pressure. They are separated, these bands are separated like Oxbow Lake on the ground. So there is a low pressure area and there is a high pressure area. The direction of wind in a low pressure area in the northern hemisphere is anti-clockwise, and the direction of wind in a high pressure area or anticyclone is clockwise, which has been shown in this diagram. So when this comes, low pressure area, this is a western disturbance. When it will be coming, it will be giving moisture, it will be giving precipitation. It may be in the form of snowfall, rainfall, hailstorms, or sleet, whatsoever the shape of the precipitation may be. So this diagram lower portion can be given in the examination. Under the influence of the jet stream, under the influence of the jet stream, the moisture laden wind from the Mediterranean Sea reaches the subcontinent of India. I saw in some of the answers saying they are giving rainfall to the eastern part of our country, Arunachal Pradesh, Brahmaputra Valley. These are blunders. And blunder means you will be losing sufficient mass. Keep yourself confined at the most up to Patna. That is the outer limit. These actually rainfall which occurs, the easternmost limit is Patna, or better you confine up to Allahabad and Varanasi. This is the area. But if you take the states, they are effective in the state of J&K, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Punjab, Haryana, UP, and western part of Bihar. They may occasionally give rainfall in the northern part of Rajasthan also, some areas of Madhya Pradesh. But the dominant route is in the hill states of India and adjacent south of the hill states. It means Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Punjab, Haryana and UP. This is the area. So they affect the weather conditions of these areas. Next line. Generally in a year, according to the Meteorological Department of India, 6 to 7 disturbances, 6 to 7 western disturbances are recorded. In exceptional years, their number may be 10. Then give a heading: social relevance of western disturbances. Social relevance. The western disturbances give enough precipitation in the form of rainfall, snowfall, sleet, and hails. Sleet means when there is a mixture of rain plus snowfall. Both are falling. That is known as sleet. And hail is ole padna. These are the form. These are the forms of precipitation. These rainfalls are, these precipitation are highly beneficial to the standing rabi crops or winter crops like wheat, barley, vegetables, fodder crops, sugarcane, and orchards. The apple orchards in J&K, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand are favorably affected by the western disturbances. Stop. These rains are also beneficial to the peoples of northwest India, as the efficiency of the people goes up. Actually, the cloudy weather is favorable for hard work. If the temperature is low, there is cloudy sky, you don't feel exhausted. You can work for a longer period. And if you can work for a longer period, your output will be more. Then the quality will, because you are doing work with focused or concentration, the quality of product will also be good. You may be doing indoor work or outdoor, you are producing more. So it improves the efficiency of the people. And especially these people who are in the orchard growth, this apple orchard growers, they pray to God for the reception of these western disturbances. More is the snowfall, more is the better quality of the apples. This is the correlation. And in all these areas, the people say many of the disease, they disappear. Because before the arrival of a western disturbance, it is a keen weather. Keen weather means the temperature is low and the humidity is also low. So they develop some skin disease. When there is more moisture, automatically such problems the people don't feel. This is one thing. But sometimes the same rainfall is harmful. If the arrival of a western disturbance is late in the month of March or beginning of April, the rabi crops are ready to harvest. And if there is a hail, ole pad jaye, the crop is damaged. This is the negative aspect. Fasal taiyar hai, mustard and wheat, and this heavy rainfall and rainfall in the form of solid hails, then the crops are damaged. This much is sufficient to write about this. If you consult the book Geography of India, apart from this I have given a map showing the route of the western disturbances originating from the Mediterranean Sea and moving east over Syria, Iran, Iraq, coming to the subcontinent of India, that can be given. This much is sufficient to secure about 55 or 60% marks, 5 or 6 marks on this one. Now there are some small questions, and one very funny thing which I found, and please whosoever the candidate may be, I don't remember his name, but he will get that. I am pointing out this point to him. This is the word monoculture. There was a question on the rotation of crops or something like that. A word was used by a student Monoculture. The Punjabis are doing monoculture, or the farmers of Punjab are doing monoculture. What is the meaning of monoculture? Pardon? In West Bengal, rice is a. In Rajasthan, you can say bajra is a monoculture. But Punjabis are growing more than 2 crops. At least they are growing rice in the Kharif season and wheat in the winter season. So if they are obtaining 2 crops in a year, that cannot be monoculture. ये जिसने भी लिखा है, मुझे नाम याद नहीं, ना मुझे जरूरत है, अगर वो लिखेंगे तो नंबर बहुत कटेंगे. Monoculture means 1 crop. Mono means 1. So Punjab or Haryana farmers, they are obtaining 2 crops, minimum 2 crops in a year, and the normal rotation of crops or crop combination is rice in the Kharif season, summer season, and wheat in the winter season or Rabi season. So that is a 2 crop combination, not monoculture. Monoculture is one, as this boy has said, Bengalis are going for the monoculture of rice. They obtain 3 crops of rice in a year. Some of the farmers in Rajasthan, they may be harvesting only bajra, monoculture of 1 crop. In the second season, they are not putting any seed. So you can say some parts of Rajasthan are practicing the monoculture of bajra. ऐसी ब्लंडर ना कीजिए, क्योंकि एग्जामिनर को आप बेवकूफ़ नहीं बना सकते. वो 30-40 साल से इन चीज़ों को पढ़ता आ रहा है. आपने इंजीनियरिंग के बाद ये पढ़ी है, लेकिन उसको आइडिया है, तो वो नंबर काट देगा, उसकी बला से पूछा जाए, यू विल बी द लूजर. सो प्लीज यूज द jargons properly. Punjab is having 2 crop combination, and the dominant crops of Punjab at present are rice in the summer season, wheat in the winter season. Now there was a question on salinization. Note down some points on salinization. I will dictate you the points. The process of accumulation, the process of accumulation of soluble salt in the upper part of the soil profile is known as salinization. Stop. Salinization, next sentence. Salinization adversely affects the growth of most of the plants, vegetation and crops. Next line. Salinization is more frequent. Salinization is more frequent in the areas of, in the semi-arid areas, or in the areas of intensive irrigation and waterlogging. It also occurs along the coastal plains when there is transgression of sea water. Sea water at the time of tropical cyclone. In the semi-arid areas of our country, where farmers have adopted high-yielding varieties of rice and wheat, they are over-irrigating their fields. In such areas, the rate of evaporation is also high. At the time of evaporation, through the capillary action, many of the salts appear on the surface of the soil. Making the land unproductive. After writing this image, give a small map of India and put some dots in the areas or semi-arid areas of our country where salinization is a serious problem. In the book it is available, but if you don't want to consult the book, use shade or put some orange shades in Punjab, Haryana, Western Uttar Pradesh and Northern Rajasthan. This is the area where the salinization is maximum. Plus put some dots in the Northern Sarkar, in the Coromandel coast, because in that area also we have transgression of sea. The sea water enters into the land and sea water is sufficiently saline. So the land becomes saline.